What's up, guys? It's me, Jeremy, and today I actually have a pretty interesting topic that a lot of people have asked me to talk about, and that is, of course, ELO Hell. Now, of course, it's definitely a huge question. Does ELO Hell exist? And I'm going to go over why it does and why it doesn't, and kind of the in-between. So, I believe, and I'm pretty sure this is what is true, that ELO Hell is in the eye of the beholder, much like real hell, actually. ELO Hell is what you think it actually is. If you believe ELO Hell exists, then to you it probably exists, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. The reason for this is because a lot of players will create their own ELO Hell in their games by either raging or not telling people what to do properly, not making shot calls, or some things like that. If you're in a game and maybe your top laner goes 0-1 and you start raging at him really hard, then you are creating that ELO Hell because you are becoming part of the ELO Hell. And I think that if you are becoming part of an ELO Hell, then you can say that ELO Hell exists for you, because when you rage in games and you feed and you do things like that, other people will kind of do the same things to you, and it's kind of just like karma in a way almost. So even though like it's kind of just what you make it, it's mostly just the raging though. I mean, feeding, yeah, feeding is bad, I guess, but raging is definitely much worse, especially when it comes to creating this ELO Hell, which is essentially just all your teammates are bad and the other team has always good players. But the thing about League of Legends is that one bad player could ruin a game, right? And you see this statistic where, the obvious statistic, of course, that people always say, oh, your team has four possibilities of players that could be a troll, but the other team has 5 possibilities of player could be a troll. That way, it's statistically impossible for ELO Hell to not exist. But in my opinion, that statement is kind of a load of bullshit, because it takes one bad player to ruin the game. And the thing is that with one bad player and one bad plays late game, especially late game, because you just get caught out and you're totally done, right? So you have to not look at my 4 players versus the opponent's 4 players. You have to look at the fact that, oh, one of my 4 players is bad versus none of my 4 players is bad. And most of the time you'll probably get at least one bad player on your team that you have to carry. But the thing is that mistakes are very easily seen by the team that's making the mistakes. Like, that guy gets cut out, oh my god, that was so bad, right? But then the thing is that if your opponent makes the same mistake, sometimes you don't capitalize on it enough, right? So if your opponents have that bad player that's making that mistake and getting caught out, you might just kill him and then just like go back, right? But then you, on your team, your bad player will get caught out and he'll die, but then the opposing team will go take Baron or Dragon or something like that, because maybe they had their lanes pushed out or things like that. And it's kind of all relative. So in that sense, like, if you can have your team have good map control and good presence, make sure the lanes are pushed out when they need to be, or like you get caught out when it doesn't really matter, and you don't really take risks. Like, you're getting caught out because you like made a mistake, not because you took this like unnecessary risk to go farm. Like, maybe you're just wandering the jungle or something, because if you were getting caught out because you're like warding Baron or you're farming a lane, the enemy team will be able to easily take objective next to that place that you got caught out. But if you just get caught out on some random ass spot, then it's not really going to matter. And the thing is that you need to learn and cause your team to be very solid at capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes, and also have it so that your opponents are not as good as capitalizing on the mistakes that you make, right? And the reason why this ELO Hell concept exists is because of those 4 players, when one of them is bad, they make a mistake that the opponents capitalize on hugely. But when your opponents make a mistake, you don't capitalize on it as much. So then, even though you have less chances to have a player that's bad, when you have your player being bad, it causes a bigger effect on the game, as opposed to when your opponents have a bad player and you don't really capitalize on it as much. So the point is to start capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes as much as possible, and I guarantee you that ELO Hell will stop being a problem for you, as long as you continue to not rage and you don't feed super hard. And it's really just, if you can, to get out of ELO Hell, or ELO Hell I guess you could say, because I personally don't believe ELO Hell exists, but if you can, to get out of ELO Hell, you have to stop becoming ELO Hell. And I want to go back to the point I mentioned earlier, that ELO Hell is in the eye of the beholder, right? It's what you make it. So if you're part of ELO hell, if you are part of your ELO hell, you need to become self-aware, stop making your mistakes, and acknowledge your problems, and then step out of that ELO hell, become the better person, and then after that become smarter in your play and capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes. That's the key. Not so much preventing mistakes that you're making, but capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes heavily and snowballing. Snowballing has such a huge effect on the game right now that capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes is definitely the major way to win, as opposed to avoid making mistakes yourself, which is why aggressive play works so well. And once you can manage to do all of those things, I think you will have a much better time in solo queue, and ELO hell will stop to exist for you personally as well. So that's it for this vlog here, and I'd love if you guys could support me with a like or some feedback in the comments. If you have any questions, I'd love to discuss it in the comments with you too, or you could send me a YouTube PM. And please subscribe for more awesome content in the future if you enjoyed this video. And also, I'd love it if you guys could follow me on Facebook or Twitter, of which I'll have links in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for sticking with me through my sickness, and I'll see you guys next time.